It's the best in sports and entertainment, and get locked in and locked down with Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with your host, me, Ryan O'Neill, each and every morning, right here with the best in sports and entertainment, all the way from professional sports to college sports to River Dragons hockey and everything in between, including some of the very best local and national guests. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Fridays, right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.
Are you looking for a reliable dental practice that not only cares about your teeth, but is friendly to work with? How about one that offers great deals and new patient promotions? Well, your search is over. Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton, Georgia is committed to giving you the biggest and brightest smile. Right now, get a $99 new patient special, including x-rays and exam. Maybe you're looking for veneers. Most Valuable Smiles veneer special includes one free veneer with every 5 purchased. Or get that bright white smile you've always wanted by taking advantage of an exclusive $100 off Zoom whitening treatment when you book today. And don't forget that 2022 is almost over. That means most insurance policies will reset by the new year, and to avoid losing that extra money, you need to use it or lose it. Book an appointment today with Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton to lock in these exclusive deals. Call 706-623-0318 or visit mostvaluablesmiles.com.
Hey, Braves Country! Braves Country HD is bringing you Braves Country Baseball. Braves Country comes to you every Tuesday night and Friday night, and 2 bonus games every week. Hi, I'm Mac Magee, and we'll be bringing you play-by-play, pitch-by-pitch of your Atlanta Braves. It's free to listen. Please like and subscribe. YouTube.com/@Braves Country. Braves Country Baseball, for the fans, by the fans.
Here's good news. There's still a need for hundreds of thousands of cybersecurity professionals in the U.S. right now. And My Computer Career is training people to help meet the demand. No IT experience? No problem. Take the free career evaluation today. Start your new life as an IT pro in as little as 4 months. Grants covering up to 53% of the cost are available to those who qualify. It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
Enjoy sun-drenched days, epic stays, and plenty of room to roam in Greater Fort Lauderdale. Our hotels, attractions, and restaurants have taken the Visit Lauderdale's Safe and Clean pledge, so you can relax and explore with confidence. When you're ready for that well-deserved staycation, our 23 miles of golden beaches await. Find wide-open spaces to hike, bike, kayak, and paddleboard. Visit your favorite attractions, then dine out in style in dining rooms or al fresco on waterfront patios. Learn more at sunny.org.
Braves Country today. We're talking Southern sports. We go live 3 to 5 weekdays right here on WQEE. Braves Country today, Southern sports talk with the voice of Braves Country baseball, Mac Magee. Joined every day from sports analysts from all over Braves Country, talking college football, the NFL, Major League Baseball, and what's trending in the world of sports. Braves Country today. We go live 3 to 5 weekdays right here on WQEE.
It all starts with just one thing. When recycling, rinse out jars and cans, and avoid recycling wax paper or paper soiled with food. This will reduce recycling contamination. Find tips and more at onethingus.com. What's your one thing?
Hey, sports fans, it's Rod Peterson here, host of The Rod Peterson Show, inviting you to join us daily for 2 hours of Atlanta's funnest sports talk right here on WQEE. I say fun because it is. You've never heard a show like it because we make the listeners a part of the show every day between noon and 2 p.m. Eastern. You'll hear plenty of the best sports talk, including the latest on the Falcons, the Braves, and more. And who knows, you might even hear you. That's The Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon, right here on WQEE 99.1 FM.
Armchair. There's something kind of about a kid that's never played baseball.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and flat out deceived.
Why did you get so drunk?
You got drunk. I'm just really exhausted.
What's in that cup?
Mama Cokes.
Do you have any idea how important this is? We're trying to save the pump. Really? This is what you're doing?
Chief, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night. Try to take over the world.
106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Armchair. YouTube Live.
Radio station. The radio station you can call your own. Do you know what listeners like about our station?
I like everything. It's always on my radio.
We never stop the music, except for now, when I talk.
Hey, howdy, hi, and how the hell are you, Braves country? We're coming to you live here on Mondays and Thursdays when we don't have a day game. Obviously, if we have a day game, we're not going to sit here and talk about it. We're going to bring it to you. But Mondays and Thursdays, we're going to bring you Braves country. We're calling it Brunch in Braves country. It's going to come on at 11 a.m. We're going to get out of your hair quick. We're not going to stay on here long. It's going to be quick and to the point. We're just going to kind of jump on here, get the day going, and cover some things that I don't think we're going to have a chance to cover in the afternoon show that we do 3 to 5, because with football season being here, I make no bones about it, but my favorite sport is baseball. But the guys that I've been doing Armchair Quarterback Radio with for a long time, their favorite sports are football. And though they do enjoy baseball, and most of them, that's their second favorite sport, I like to talk baseball. I love to talk baseball. So that's what we're going to do on the Braves Country Brunch. And we'll still be doing a lot of baseball on the 3 to 5 show. But this is the stuff that I'm like, man, on Mondays, when football season really gets going, we're going to be reacting to the weekend. We're going to be dealing with Monday Night Football. I don't want to miss anything that we need to be talking about, not just with the Braves, but all of Major League Baseball. And then the same thing on Thursdays, because that's when the NFL and college football week really kind of begins again. And so it's very difficult for me to do one on Friday. So I'm much more likely to be able to do it on Thursday. So that's what we're going to bring to you this week. Obviously, there won't be a Thursday because the Braves are playing a very early day game. We're playing 12:35 against Pittsburgh. We're starting our series against Pittsburgh today. So it's a long series. It's a 4-game series. And they do have the pitching rotation set, and we're about to get into that. We're also going to talk about the series that was with the Cubs, the disappointment of losing. But look, the Cubs are a good team. We lost on the road. You can chalk a little bit up to weather conditions, but that's not what I'm going to talk about today, because when it's all said and done, you got to look at the man in the mirror, and we didn't play good baseball, and we're going to get into why that is. Also, we're going to talk about the NL MVP race, which I think has gotten a lot more interesting, and other things outside of Braves, of the Atlanta Braves, what the Angels are doing, Tim Anderson's meltdown, the Phillies have another major injury, and where you're sitting in the wild card. So without further ado, let's jump into this thing, because I know y'all don't want to hear me talk about what we got to talk about. Let's talk about it. Let's go. All right, Braves country. Once again, we do this show live 11 a.m. on Mondays. So if you're hearing this on the replay leading into the Monday night's game, realize when I say what I'm about to say, this doesn't really pertain to you because it's already happened. But anyone watching live, if you do want to put a comment in the section, I will definitely. This is also going to be a day that we empty the mailbag. So anyone that has something that they want to talk about Mondays and Thursdays, that's your day, and we'll revolve it around whatever you want to talk about. And I am going to get into Yelton's comment because I think it's a fair comment. I'm gonna give you my take on it here in a second, but let's get into the fact Braves win the first game 8-0. Max Fried looked phenomenal. But the name of the game in baseball always has been, always will be. It's that little thing called pitching. And the Braves didn't get any damn pitching on Saturday or Sunday. And when you look at the offense, look, they scored enough to win on most days. We scored 6 runs on Saturday. We scored 4 runs on Sunday. With Charlie Morton being on the bump on Sunday, Elder being on the hill on Saturday, you expect to be in those games and have a fighting chance at the end, probably even have the lead. But the pitching wasn't there. The biggest thing to me this weekend is the free bases. We gave free bases away. You cannot play baseball, win baseball at the major league level. I don't care who you're playing. And the Cubs are a good team. They're right in the thick of their NL Central race. I know they don't have the record the Braves have. Nobody does. But they're a damn good baseball team. We saw some pretty good pitching. I really like that Justin Steele, always have for quite some time. He goes out there, he gives you effort. His stuff doesn't really blow you away. Once you see him second, third time through the order, you can usually get to him. But he's a grinder. He reminds me so much of John Lester. Just, he's a lefty. He tends to try to get, it's more about placement as opposed to power. Big Justin Steele fan. But he outpitched Charlie Morton essentially. Now, the Braves finally got to him, knocked him out of the game. But we had Charlie Morton give up 4 free passes on Sunday. Bryce Elder give up 3 free passes on Saturday. In 8 2/3 innings, we walked 7 guys. You can't do that and win in Major League Baseball. I don't care what level it is. It can't be done. It absolutely can't be done. So when we talk about this and we talk about the Atlanta Braves being able to go out there and win game after game after game and compete and do things that I think are going to be key to winning, not just winning the division, because right now, if you don't win the division, it's an absolute disaster. You got a double-digit lead in the first week of August. You've got to put the division away. So I'm not even that necessarily that bugged out about that, because if we don't go out there and take care of the division, then what the hell are we talking about? If we collapse so bad, in other words, if we pull a New York Met collapse and collapse so badly, and really this would be more on the lines of, you lose this kind of lead, we're talking about much more, not Mets from last year. That's Mets from, what was it, 07, 08, whatever it was when they collapsed against the Phillies. This would be an all-timer to have the best record in baseball and not win the division. So I'm not even going to talk about that being a thing. What I am going to say is you want to be playing well going into October. You don't want to be stumbling in. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that with everything that's going on in Major League Baseball and everything looking towards the future of, October, you've got to be hitting the ground running. You can't just be stumbling in. Well, we saw on Saturday and Sunday of this week, we were stumbling. There was bad base running, poor pitching. It's bad enough that Elder came out and just spit the bit, gave up 5 runs, walked 2 guys in the first inning. There was the error by Olsen. I'm not going to kill him on that error. That was not an egregious error. That was a tough play. And yes, he should have made the play, but it was a hot shot, went off his glove, one he makes a million times. He just didn't happen to make it, that play. It appears that he may be human. But when you put the totality of the inning and you put that along with the walks, there was a couple of leadoff men that were not, cutoff men that were not hit in this weekend as well. That adds to more bases. You're just giving bases away along with the errors, along with the walks, along with the hit by pitch. Charlie Morton, can you quit hitting a guy? If you can't control that curveball against lefties, quit throwing the damn thing, or here's an idea, aim a little further in. Because I am just sick and tired of seeing that every single game. And I can't begin to fathom what goes through him being able to control that pitch. Pitched a little when I was younger, but obviously not on the level that he's pitching. So am I saying that I can do better? No. But what I am saying is another big issue that I had with the Charlie Morton start. This isn't all on Charlie. So this is a little bit on the coaching staff. This is a little on Travis d'Arnaud. Can you have a pregame and talk about the fact that if his fastball is working, and it was, he was dotting the I's early in that game. And I was absolutely thrilled the first inning early on, looking at seeing what he was doing. Because a lot of times when Charlie comes out and he's not hitting his spot, you're like, oh, this is going to be another rough one. It's going to be one where he's going to have to gut through. And look, he's a fighter. He normally gets you 5 to 6 innings, but you're sitting there going, my God, here we go again. He was dotting that fastball. And the only pitch he wasn't really commanding well yesterday was the curve. And I do believe it had something to do with the weather. It was a little cooler. The wind was going on. I'm not going to put the wind on it. It's more of it was a little cooler. You kept seeing him blowing his hands. So I saw that a million times yesterday. And sometimes in that cool air, the ball does not bend the way you want it to bend. Right? So the fact of the matter is we are talking about a guy that is supposed to go to the post, is supposed to give you several solid innings. If something's not working, man, quit leaning on it. And Travis d'Arnaud, it's got to be a part of the equation. Why is that pitch getting called? Because it's getting called quick. So it's like Travis is over there leaning towards it. And I know you've seen Charlie pitch a million times and he believes in it. And I get all that nonsense. But when it's not working, when he doesn't have the touch, when he doesn't have it rolling, stick with the stuff that is. And then if you want to pepper in a curveball here and there, okay, keep them honest. I get that. But then go right back to the hard stuff. I think he would have had a much better outing. I know this is all reactive and armchair and all that stuff. Well, hell, that's what we do. But the point is, they say the definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results. And that's what we were seeing. That is what we were seeing. And then he's hitting guys. And he never hits them good, right? You never go, well, that'll bust you off the plate. It's always some soft cheese, some curveball that comes over and just kisses the shoe of the back foot of the left-handed batter. That is the one that he hits batters more than anything else. If a fastball drifts inside, a change, a two-seam action, drifts inside and hits a batter, I can live with that. But it's that curveball going over and into the left-hander that I know he loves that pitch because he's thinking that you have to swing at it because you think it's going to be a strike. But when it's not, when you don't have it, man, turn the damn page. You can't keep going to it. And this is over and over and over again. And at some point, this lands on not just Brian Snicker, but Rick Kranitz. It lands on everybody who's game planning along with Travis d'Arnaud, if he's back there. If it's Murphy, then Fair enough. I do tend to see that they tend to have Travis d'Arnaud back there more often. But the point is, when it's what am I trying to say? When it's Charlie Morton's day to pitch, right? So I'll get off that, but my biggest take from that is quit throwing the damn curveball if it's not hitting and pepper it back and forth. I also believe the more and more you use that curveball, the more they see it, the easier they can pick it up and they go, oh, that's not, don't swing at that. Oh, don't swing at that. You get them in 2 strikes, it's a different story. You pepper one in, but if it doesn't hit, go to the next. There was an at bat yesterday where he went 5, 6, 7 curveballs in a row, and that happened a few times. Running his pitch count up. Then you got to go into the bullpen. Charlie Morton Day is turning into a day. Charlie Morton Day is turning into a day where you're like, God, I hope we get 5 innings. Sometimes it's 6, but I hope we get 5 innings. And I hope the game's within striking distance when the bullpen has to come in. And Charlie Morton is not supposed to be a guy that when you send him in there, that you're thinking, well, we got to really get the bullpen rested the day before. And if that's going to be the case, and we are where we are, we've got to split up Fried and Strider and Elder and Morton. It should realistically be, let's be honest, going forward. I know Fried's just coming off the IL, but going forward, you're going to have Fried and Strider. You can't have them back to back until the postseason because you're going to just wear out that damn bullpen. All right, let's look at the series ahead as the Atlanta Braves will play the Pittsburgh Pirates. We are in Pittsburgh the next 4 days. And so with that being said, these 4 games need to be won. I want to see at least a 3 out of 4. This is a Pittsburgh team that was playing much better at the beginning of the season. They are not at this point, and there's got to come a point in time where the Atlanta Braves are going to have to go out and get the W's against these lower end teams to build. Because look, right now, you look at the best record in baseball, Chase. Baltimore is on our heels. Now we're technically 3 games in front in the loss column, but they're tied with us with wins. We're a game and a half in front. That's not a very big cushion. Tampa Bay's right behind us because the Braves dropped 2 in a row. Now this happens when you go and play a tough Cubs team. It's going to happen. And while that was going on, Baltimore was at home playing the hapless Mets. But this week, we play 8 baseball games against 2 teams that are not going to the playoffs. The Pittsburgh Pirates, and then it's a 4-game set in 3 days, a doubleheader, and that's always tricky and going to be tough. But a 4-game set against the Mets. And though they were sellers, and you hate, I hate the fact that we're having to play them in a doubleheader because it's so difficult to sweep a doubleheader. It really is. But with all that being said, we've got Strider tonight. We've got Chirinos tomorrow night, which, look, he's doing what he's supposed to do. He goes up there and eats innings. I have no problem with Yanni Chirinos at this point. You hope to get about 5 innings out of him. I think there's going to be a lot where there's going to be 4. But I'm fine with that because it's a glorified bullpen game. It's a guy you want to get through the lineup twice. You might roll the dice because we have a big lead in the division, but I still think they need to be paying attention to the overall. Now, they may be looking at this. There's a reason why I put this up on the board. Baltimore is on our tail for best record. Tampa Bay has played much more good as opposed to great baseball in the second part of the season. But think about who we are most likely to meet in the NLCS and in the World Series. We're most likely to meet the Dodgers, and everybody's favorite right now is the Houston Astros. Maybe even Toronto if they get hot. But if that is the case, we are 10 games in front of the win-loss column in front of Houston. So it's a much bigger cushion. Baltimore, not taking anything away from the Baltimore Orioles this year. They're great. They're fun to watch. I try to catch Baltimore games when I'm not catching other games. But with that being said, I believe there's probably not much of a chance that we're going to face Baltimore in the World Series. Because if we are fortunate enough to get to the World Series and there's a little bit of luck involved, health, all that kind of stuff. But right now, the Braves are the best team in the National League. But let's say that we're fortunate enough to make it to the World Series. I don't think the pitching in Baltimore is going to be good enough to go through that gauntlet of the postseason. So I really do believe it's most likely going to be Houston, Texas. Texas, what are we? We are sitting at so we're 7 games in front of Texas in the loss column, 5.5 overall. So I'm paying attention to Baltimore. I'm paying attention to Tampa, but I really think that the two teams that we have to worry about the most are Texas and Houston, maybe even Toronto. Toronto's been playing good baseball, but if we go up against Baltimore, though, you're going to have to worry about the elements up there, and they've got a good offense. I'll take Baltimore. Even if Baltimore were to catch us and pass us, I will take Baltimore on the road any day of the week than playing some of those other teams I just mentioned with us having the home field advantage. Because our pitching is much deeper. So there you have that. Let me see what some of the comments are. Yeah, Morton is definitely done. He's overpaid. I don't know if he's necessarily overpaid because in today's game, $20 million, when you consider what Mac Scherzer's giving you the same kind of effort, and he's getting paid $43. So, I don't know if it's necessarily overpaid, but it could be spent a little wiser. I do agree with that. So, and of course, Yelton was talking about the base running by Orlando Arcia. Man, that was atrocious. I mean, the only thing worse I saw this weekend than Orlando Arcia's base running, which has been going on for all year, but the past calendar week, he's had some really duds where he's getting thrown out at third. He's getting thrown out at third when he's the last or the first out of the inning. That is a cardinal sin in baseball. And then this weekend with the Cubs, kind of Cadillacing around, not paying attention. The ball gets caught, and he's kind of the only one that I saw worse this weekend. Did y'all see this Giancarlo Stanton getting thrown out on Saturday, I believe it was, against the Astros? When I say Cadillac, and Giancarlo Stanton was literally on a light jog coming from second to home with 2 outs and a ball hit to center field. It wasn't quite in the gap, but it wasn't dead on. Hell, I would have scored. And I'm slow as molasses. Because I'd have been digging, man. There's no way I'm getting thrown out. Now, you do have to put one thing on it, though. Does their third base coach not know what the hell's going on? Because whether he's hurt or he's being told don't run hard because he's made of glass, whatever the reason is. Giancarlo Stanton literally to this day, and remember how much money they paid for him, and he got him from the Marlins, and everyone thought it was this big deal. He's station to station baseball at this point. He gets a base hit, and it's a tight game, late innings, you absolutely have to pull him for a pinch runner. But anyways, back to the Braves and back to other things going on. The series is set. It's going to be Strider. It's going to be Chirinos, Fried, and Elder. I think that's probably the best case scenario that you can come up with. There's a part of me that would rather see Charlie pitch on Thursday and give Elder an extra day of rest, because I don't think Charlie's got anything to. Charlie Morton, one thing you can't say about he's an innings eater. He's not on the damn look. As much as we may think he's a little overpaid, he's gone to the post this year. Max Fried has very few innings. Kyle Wright, where the hell is he? I'm not banging on these guys because an injury is an injury and it is what it is. But the one thing you have to say about Charlie Morton, where the hell would we have been if we didn't have Charlie Morton and Bryce Elder for the bulk of this season? I think Bryce Elder's running out of gas. This is his first full season in Major League Baseball. And that's going to be something they're going to have to massage down the stretch. So I would like to see where there's an opportunity, and there's an opportunity here for Charlie. Oh, actually, I'm wrong. If Charlie pitched on Thursday, he'd be on short rest. I don't know what I was thinking. But what you could do, riddle me this, Batman. What about the idea that on Thursday you could call somebody up to pitch that game? You could send one of the relievers down, and you'll get that reliever back on Saturday when they let you expand the roster. That would be in a perfect world. It's not going to happen. I'm just saying what I would do, because what I'm seeing out of Elder, I just think he's hitting a wall. I don't think he's lost his stuff. I still think he's a good pitcher. I think he's going to be very important to us down the stretch. But I'd like to see them give, maybe even skip him in a turn. Maybe send him down on a 10-day IL, right? Bring someone up. If you want to put Soroka out there against the Pirates, what's the worst that's going to happen? Something like that. I mean, I prefer AJ Smith-Shawver, but that's me. See what else we got here. Bullpen only giving up 2 runs for the whole series is pretty good. Silverlight. Yeah, the bullpen all in all was pretty good, but the free passes, we had 5 walks by the bullpen on Friday. I mean, excuse me, on Saturday. And that led to runs. So we lost. So they gave up what? On Saturday, they had 5. Now, yesterday, much cleaner from the bullpen. But once again, you got to get to that bullpen, and you can't keep wearing these guys out, man. These are starting pitchers, whoever that may be. And that's why I wanted to see the Braves make a damn trade at the deadline to get an extra veteran arm so we could go to a real 6-man rotation. Give guys a little extra rest, because I've noticed when Charlie Morton has an extra day of rest, he usually comes out firing. Bryce Elder could use that extra day of rest. They could all use the extra day of rest because we're heading towards the postseason. One way or the other, the Braves will make the playoffs, even if for some godforsaken reason we don't win the division, which I fully expect us to do. They're heading to the postseason. You need these guys fresh and ready to roll. Let's roll, right? And that's why I can't believe that they didn't go do something at the deadline for a starter. And grabbing Yanni Chirinos off the trash heap is not doing something. And I saw some comments and some tweets by some writers and some fans that were going back and forth. And one of the things they were talking about was making a trade, da-da-da-da-da. And one of the comebacks was that outside of AJ Smith-Shawver, which I believe is, I consider him untouchable in a trade, unless you really get a haul back. But when it's all said and done, the not trading away some of your guys who are never going to take a starting role for this team for long periods of time, because we're locked and loaded in the starting lineup at this point, right? A couple of things they'll do in the offseason for the left field, but locked and loaded. The pitching, we're pretty set-ish going forward. You got to figure Smith-Shawver's going to have a role next year. Elder, Freed, Strider, Wright. And then, of course, you're going to want depth. But I talked about this before the deadline. I'm going to bring it up one more time. They should have traded Mike Soroka and seen what they could get back for a veteran starter down the stretch, because Soroka has one more year of eligibility, of control for the Atlanta Braves. One more arbitration. After 2024, he is free agent. And from what we've seen of him, he's a very below average starting pitcher at this point with his stuff. With his experience, he turns into I'll say a C, an average pitcher. But he doesn't have dominant stuff anymore. He's changed his delivery. I think it's made him much more hittable. He's been fortunate in some of his games. If you just look at the box score, you're like, man, he's doing pretty good. But he's been fortunate. He's had some balls smoked that have been caught. His expecting batting average is actually much higher than what it really is against him. And then also, he's had a lot of run support in his starts. But the sky's not falling in Atlanta by any stretch of the imagination. They're going into a series against a very good team at the beginning of the year, the Pittsburgh Pirates. Now they've kind of fallen off. I believe some of that, look, when you're young and you're hitting this wall, and we're seeing some of our guys collectively do it or individually do it, but because we have so many veterans, it's not a glaring issue. But it's a long grind, the 162 game season, the nicks and the bruises and the aches and the pains. You got to fight through them because there's another game tomorrow. You don't get that in minor league baseball. So, with that being said, we're going to go in and take it and take a team that is right now a team we should win 3 or 4. I would love to see a sweep. I said this before. I never assume a sweep when it comes to a Major League Baseball team, because you run into one buzzsaw of a pitcher and it's good night, Irene. The Braves in that park should score a lot of runs. Now, tonight's game, take a look at that real quick here in a second. But I did want to address a couple of things in Major League Baseball before we get going. First of all, NL MVP is no longer wrapped up by Ronald Acuna Jr. Matt Olson is making a push, and he is on pace for 58 home runs. Let's say he cracks close to 60. And he's going to lead the National League in RBI if he does that. How do you not vote in the guy who could make the modern day real record in the National League go away? Because I'm never going to ever acknowledge Sosa, Bonds, or McGuire for the National League home run total. But let's say he sniffs the 62. Gets close. I don't know. He'd really have to get on fire to do that. But let's say he gets anywhere in the conversation. And if he gets near the conversation of that, of Judge's 62, and they start cutting into ball games, people getting pissed off, but I don't really care because baseball is greater than football. But, they start cutting into games to follow it. It's more likely for them to do it for Shohei Ohtani because he's just a much more popular player. But I don't know how they're just going to give it to Acuna. So I guess that's kind of a good thing because Acuna is going to feel like he's got to keep producing. And Acuna's phenomenal year. In a lot of years, he'd be running away with it. It's just not this year. You got Freddie Freeman in there in the mix as well, but I know he's going to get the Los Angeles votes. And the only thing that Freeman could sneak in the back door in is that what if the votes are split east of the Mississippi on do you give it to Olsen or Acuna? And Freddie consistently gets all the number 2s, and he ends up getting let's say you get half number ones and half number three votes for both Olsen and Acuna, it kind of opens the door for a bunch of number two votes for Freddie Freeman. But we're still a long ways away for voting for that. But you got to keep an eye on that. It's not a given. U.S. women's national team, soccer team got bounced. If you missed that, I'm sure most of y'all did. The viewing numbers have been terrible once again. Only thing I can say about that is I think it's kind of funny that the first year when they are guaranteed money and they're not really their money is not decided by how well they do, unlike the men's tournament, that they're very complacent and only make it to the semifinals. I haven't watched one lick of it. The main thing, I haven't really been boycotting it or anything like that, and I know a lot of people hate Megan Rapinoe and whatnot, but there's more than Megan Rapinoe playing on the team. By the way, Julie Ertz, her husband Zach Ertz plays in the National Football League, so I'm sure a lot of y'all know who she is. She announced her retirement after they were kicked out of the tournament. The biggest thing I'll say about that is they made this bed. Now they got to lie in it. They guaranteed all this money and none of it's performance based. I mean, very, very little is performance based. Whereas the men's side, that's why the World Cup is so damn big. The men's World Cup is because these guys really want to win because there's a big purse difference. And that's the way sports should be. The other thing, we'll talk more about this on the 3 to 5 show, Braves Country today. It comes on at the very beginning of if you get off work and you're not getting home until the 7 o'clock first pitch. Braves Country today is Monday through Friday, 3 to 5. We're on WQEE Atlanta, but we are also on Braves Country HD, and basically just start at the beginning if you want to catch that show. And I know a lot of folks do because they've told me that they'll come, they'll get off work and they'll watch the show leading up to the first pitch. And that's the great thing about YouTube and that's one of the I didn't know it for the longest time. So now we just started doing it this year. But you can rewind a live video in YouTube at any point, which is great because you can't do that on a couple of the other outlets, which sucks. You're like, man, I want to watch the whole thing. What the hell's going on here? I got to wait for the video to end. I hate that. I want to say Facebook Live is like that. We do very few Facebook Lives, but we always do the same show on YouTube, so you're not missing anything on our Facebook Live. Other thing, Tim Anderson melting down. What the hell is that? Dude, he's gone full AB about it, Antonio Brown. And we will talk about that more on the 3 to 5 show. But I mean, good God Almighty. If y'all missed that, so after he got thumped by Jose Ramirez, who, by the way, it was Anderson that started it. So let's just not, and I think Anderson thought he was just going to take him out because he got a big size of difference. And then the fight starts and you immediately go, well, you've never been in a fight. You have been all Mr. Tough Guy and you all talk, all bark, no bite. You go back and watch the video of that. It is very, very evident that not only has he never been in a fight, I don't think he ever thought he would be in a fight because I think he thought he was always going to be able to bully people like he tried to do a few other times in his career. Jose Ramirez was having none of it. He's become one of my favorite players now. I already had him on a dynasty team that I've had for years. Now, man, I'm like, there's no way I'll ever drop this guy. But he dropped Tim Anderson, and Tim Anderson was tweeting all last night, meltdown. I don't know if he was on some kind of bender. I don't know what he was on. But he went full AB about it. I don't know if he's taking him down, but we'll talk more about that on the 3 to 5 show. And I've got the tweets ready to roll. Brandon Marsh is out at least 3 weeks, a bruised knee. Look, he came into the clubhouse, Philadelphia clubhouse yesterday after he banged his knee up against the wall in Philly, and evidently someone was saying who'd played there said, "You see that padding? There's nothing but concrete right behind that padding, and it's a very, very thin padding." My first question would be like, "What the hell are you doing, Philly?" I mean, you spend all this money on the Bryce Harpers of the world, and you're not going to make sure that the damn padding, that it's a safe place to play. And you can put the same thing on the Dodgers with the ridiculousness in that step where Aaron Judge, I know it wasn't their player, but could happen to Mookie Betts. You're going to spend all this money on these guys, but you're not going to make sure that it's safe to play the game? Idiots. And I guess the other big thing, we'll talk about this much more in the 3 to 5 show, is the Pac-12 crumbling. Pac-12 is gone. As of next year, they got 4 teams left. You can't play with 4 teams. So it'll be interesting to see where all that pans out and where they head to. There's talks about the 2 state teams that are left, Oregon and Washington, are probably heading to the Big West. Makes a lot of sense. And then Cal and Stanford, you'd think they're probably going to stay together, but who? I mean, who the hell knows? They don't really bring a lot to the table outside of their academic, but we're talking about from a sports side of it. Stanford has had a much better sports program over the years, but it's not like they're elite. I would think Stanford and Cal would try to find their way into the Big 12, but if not, maybe they're Mountain West bound. It's a little sad. But we'll talk about more of that at the 3 to 5 show. Braves, just to put a cap on what was going on there. Yeah, I mean, good night almighty. The fundamentals on this team have got to get better. And it's from a lot of things. It's from sending base runners when they shouldn't be sent by Washington. He sent Acuna, and thankfully he was okay, but he sent Acuna where he was dead at home plate, and he jammed his shoulder, or looked like he possibly jammed his shoulder on the headfirst dive. You send him on a play that he never should have been sent. Ron Washington does this a lot. He's got these thick glasses, and I'm starting to think I'm going to start calling him Red Fox. Because do you remember Red Fox, or maybe just Harlem Nights? Because people may not get the reference. But do you remember the Harlem Nights Red Fox? Where he was sitting there, and he was calling, I believe it was the craps table. And he had these huge, thick bifocals, and everything he called was wrong. Like you would see the dice roll out, and it would be like a 7-Eleven type roll, and you just go snake eyes, and we're like, what the hell? So I'm going to start calling Ron Washington. I don't know if everyone will get the Red Fox. I need to find out what the hell his name was in that movie. But anyways, something, because he's sending these guys, and it's just asinine. It's asinine. It's the same situation a few years back. Justin and I still joke about it, about losing our mind when Max Fried was sent on a play, and he did a headfirst slide and it was really close to putting a major injury on him. Somehow, he avoided the major injury. They had him in a headfirst slide. It was a play at the plate. I believe I want to say Marlins, but I can't remember. And his left arm reached out, touched the base. We were already up by a ton too. That was the big thing. He touched home plate, so he was safe. But the catcher fell on him, and we were about, because it was his pitching arm, right? We're about to lose our ace stud of the future for one run when we were up by 6, right? Or whatever the score was. He's got to start pumping the brakes on these guys. It's hotter out there. They're more tired. They're more apt to get injured. And that Acuna, sending that Acuna, yeah, it's exciting. Yeah, it's fun. But you need to make damn sure that there's a very good chance he's going to score. Not we'll see what happens. And there's a lot of those, we'll see what happens. He's got to get thicker bifocals. I don't know. Let's go out and get Ron Washington some like Kurt Rambis goggles. Let's do something. I mean, he's like 90 out there making. He's about 95 years old out there at the third base bag, waving everybody in. I a few times over the last few months, the players made the right decision. They said, "Whoa, wait a minute! That ball just whistled by my ear. Why are you sending me?" So, anyways, on that, and then real quick to recap heading into tonight's game, the Atlanta Braves. It's going to be Spencer Strider on the bump tonight versus Osvaldo Bido, who 5.18 ERA. Braves should get that W. Braves heavily favored, minus 292 on the money line. Tomorrow, it's going to be Yanni Chirinos, and then Wednesday, Fried, and then Thursday morning, depending on where you're at, 12:35 Eastern, we're going to have Bryce Elder. So Chirinos goes up against Mitch Keller. That's a woof. That is a woof. Look, you're going to look at Keller, and you're going to see a 4.35 ERA, a 1.25 whip, and not be blown away. He's got good stuff. Now, he's hit the wall a little bit, but he's got good stuff. That's going to be a tough one. If I was a betting man, that would be the one that's why I wouldn't take the Braves in a sweep, because of that pitching matchup. If we were going to have Max Fried against Mitch Keller, let's go. But that's going to be a tough one. Game 3 is going to be Max Fried versus Quinn Priester. Quinn Priester has an 8.69 ERA. So we better win tonight. We better win Wednesday night. There's no excuse for losing either one of those games. And then Thursday is when it's going to be Bryce Elder versus Bailey Falter. Remember Bailey Falter used to pitch for the Phillies? Well, we've seen him plenty of times. He's got an ERA just under 5, a whip of 1.47. We should win that one. But Elder's got to be much better. Much, much better. Bailey Falter's 0-7. 0-7. Elder, you better not lose that game. So I definitely have the Braves winning the series. I would love a sweep, but that's assuming that Yanni Chirinos is going to outpitch Mitch Keller on Tuesday. That's going to be a tough one. So I think the Braves win 3 or 4. I would love to see a sweep, but that's a little insane to assume that. Tonight, the over-under on this game is, I don't see an updated one, but the over-under, the last one that I saw was up around 10.5. So, with it being, let me see here. Let me double check one more thing. I think we might actually have the over-under. Give me 1 second. Okay, the over-under is, here we go. So Braves are still coming in minus 292. The over-under is 8.5. I'd bang that over because I think they're going to get to Bido. I don't believe Strider's going to give up a whole hell of a lot. Maybe that's where their mindset is at. All right, so if you're going to do that, Vegas, you're going to paint me in a corner. I'm going to take the over. But if I'm going to do that, that means the Braves got to score some runs. So give me the Braves to win tonight 8-1. And my pick to click would be Man, it's low-hanging fruit, but I'm going to go again. Give me Matt Olson to slam one out of the building. He's got an opportunity facing the Pirates 4 games, the Mets 4 games. That pitching he's going to see, he could catch and pass Shohei Ohtani for the home run total this week. That's going to be my big take. He's going to catch and pass Shohei Ohtani for the home run total this week. Matt Olson. Hopefully he's not thinking about it, because then that just gets in your head and you know that's all you're doing. But Matt Olson, Braves get it 8-1. Spencer Strider, and give me him with like 11 strikeouts, 6 innings, maybe 7. But if he's got a good lead, they're not going to let him just roll out there. So let me see. The other thing would be, let me see. Benny Wilson was the character. All right, thank you, Jeremy. Benny Wilson. I don't know if anyone's ever gonna pick up on that reference, but that's who Ron Washington is nowadays. He's Benny Wilson of Harlem Nights, out there with the big goggles. Can't see who's. I don't know if he always thinks that it's Michael Harris rounding third and he's sending him, when sometimes it's Orlando Arcia or Matt Olson or Riley. The other quick thing that I did want to touch on before we jump out of here, what would our rotation look like in the postseason right now? What would be the plan? And I'm not talking about who's physically ready to roll, but what are the Braves thinking? Because they fully believe Kyle Wright is going to come back in September and get, what would you say, 4, maybe 5 starts? And they're nothing has them believing that he's not going to be able to go to the post. So I've got to take that into consideration when we're talking about it. I can't just assume Kyle Wright's not going to come back. I know there's a lot of doomsdayers out there that think he's not going to come back. And maybe they're right, but I'm not going to go off of that assumption. I'm going to go off of the assumption that they are correct. The Braves organization is correct, and that's why they didn't make the big move. So if we go into and a lot of it's going to have to do with what does Wright look like. But you go into the postseason, in all likelihood, you need a four-man starting crew, because you just cannot start these guys on short rest. It never works out. They always spit the bit. They always go, 3 innings, and then you're in a bullpen game anyway. So what the hell's the point? Max Fried's obviously your ace. You got to bump him off a Strider. So it's righty-lefty. Excuse me, lefty-righty. I would have loved for it to be the other way around, but you got to put Fried first. You just got to. I prefer to go righty-lefty, righty, because you see different looks. They can't load up their lineups, but it's going to be Fried. It's going to be Strider. And then the big question is, who's your number 3 and 4 guy? I think it's going to end up being Kyle Wright in some form or fashion. He'll probably be the number 4, but he may be the number 3 if he's coming out pitching well. We just really have to see where Kyle Wright is. So who's the number 4 guy? And right now, they're probably going to go with Charlie Morton. But I would prefer to lean on the fact that Charlie Morton has a lot of bullpen experience. A lot of bullpen experience. And he has even said earlier in the year when they talked about this, it got brought up around him. And last year, I'll do whatever it takes to win. I want to win. I would love the idea to have Charlie Morton on the roster, but Elder be your starter in game 4. And if it starts getting bumpy, you can bring Charlie Morton in. So if you do it the other way Elder doesn't have a ton of experience out of the bullpen. I don't think he has any in the major leagues. So that's where my head's at with that. Because if Charlie Morton can come in and give you several innings, and look, in a pinch, he may have to start. Someone gets knocked out or whatever. Charlie Morton right now, down the stretch, I'll put it this way. I want a true competition. Whoever pitches the best from August 7th until the end of the season between Elder and Morton, assuming Kyle Wright comes back and pitches well, that's the guy you go with. You can't go on the fact that one has been there a million times. He's also 39. Elder is a guy that pitches well and can get you deep into games because he can induce the ground ball. Charlie Morton will put free runners on the base, which can lose you ball games. Elder, yes, walked 3 the other day. That's not typical Elder. Elder usually keeps it to 1, maybe 2. We'll see what happens. We'll see you tonight for the game, 7:05 first pitch, and 3 to 5. We go live every day. Remember that. And we talk Mondays and Thursdays. If you're listening to this Monday night, we want to make sure everybody was aware that we're doing this. Mondays and Thursday mornings, when there's not a day game, we're doing Braves Country Brunch, 11 a.m. Usually it's not going to be as long as it was today. I had a lot of stuff I wanted to get into today. Y'all have a great day, Braves Country. We'll see you in just a little bit. Pick to click once again. Olsen, Braves 8-1 is the prediction. Because Strider better be dealing. He better be dealing.
You're in Braves country.